Fantastic. So I'm joined today by Mike Robinson. So I'll hand over to you, Mike, if you'd like to tell us what it is you do and how long you have been running the business for.
Okay, I incorporated in February of 2022. The company's called Now and Then Limited. Effectively, I've created a mirror of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Basically, I have created a set of tools based on the internet, linked to a mobile phone app that can deliver remotely or on location using GPS or low energy Bluetooth beacons, information in the form of pictures, text, audio, in fact, anything, because it uses hyperlinks to download content if necessary. Anywhere on the planet or off planet, inside or out of a building, because of the use of low energy Bluetooth beacons. I've managed to create the app over a period of 3 years. My first partners will be the St. Ives Digital Boardwalk, powered by Now and Then.
Oh, wow.
I've also got involved Julia Bradbury, Access the Dales with Debbie North, who's making wheelchair accessible tours all around the Yorkshire Dales. She's an ambassador for them. I'm also using an internationally famous person who audio describes pictures. Her name is Zoe Partington. She trained people at the Tate. She did the Cultural Olympics. She's famous all the way around the planet, but she's also a trustee of the Cornwall Museums Partnership, who are also on board. So basically, I'm creating guided tours to anywhere on the planet or off the planet that are available to everybody, no matter how you are enabled. In fact, one of my testers has been blind since birth and was able to test the app walking around Falmouth Art Gallery, being guided around it without his dog, and finding it one of the most immersive and exciting experiences he has ever had.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell. But there's a lot of technology there. So have you sort of designed all of the technology yourself? Did it sort of stem from experiences or an idea?
So basically, I was around before computers were born. I sold my Ford Capri in the 1970s to buy a BBC computer, taught myself to program. I am a capable programmer, but only old school. Mm-hmm. So I basically retired again about 3 years ago. My wife's had enough of me and sent me back to university to find out whether or not I knew what I'd been doing for most of my life. It turns out I did. I got an MA in entrepreneurship, and at the same time started the company Now and Then with the help of Falmouth University Launchpad. So rather than, well, what I actually did while I was there was I created a small mobile app and thought, I don't want to do this. I don't really want to program in 4D, because that's effectively what programming a mobile phone app is. There's not just one line of code, there are 4 lines of code for separate things that makes an app work. So I decided to wireframe the app. So I designed every single screen from scratch on paper. Not really, I used Balsamic on the internet, and designed the app itself, basically. And then I employed a set of programmers to build it. And we've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 years. I've mainly bootstrapped. I've had help from Launchpad. I've had help more recently from Cornwall Aerospace, who match funded the latest build, which costs 70 grand roughly. Mm-hmm. If you take into account the amount of money that others have put in, it's over £100,000 that's been funded. Everybody that comes into contact with it is really excited about it. And if you take into account the amount of salary that I should have been paid over the last 3 years. It's probably cost about £250,000 to get to the stage where we are now. I have two major shareholders. One is Launchpad. They own 24.9% of my business. And a friend, because I managed to get SEIS funding, also owns 15% of my business. The balance I own outright. I intend to give 1% to the planet, 1% to every charity that the app enables, i.e. Royal National Institute for the Blind, something for the deaf and the disabled. I'd rather this is an application that suits the community, but it also saves the environment because every single organisation, like the National Maritime Museum, for instance, formed just over 15 years ago now, has about 20 machines throughout the building that deliver content to people who go in there. They have 250,000 people a year go in there. Those machines have been touched 250,000 times. They're all broken, or nearly all of them. They don't deliver sound, they don't deliver audio, or they just don't do what they were designed to do originally. They cannot be repaired because they're 15 years old and the parts aren't available anymore. And they're very costly to replace. These organizations no longer have funds. They need to get them from somewhere. They have to charge for entry or tours or something of that nature because they're no longer government funded. So we're rescuing the tourism industry by providing them with a tool, the phone in somebody's pocket. They already have the content that gets loaded into Now and Then. Oh, and the benefit of Now and Then is the fact that we've been approached by the likes of St Michael's Mount, who recently, about a year or so ago, purchased an app, paid for it to be built, and now hate the damn thing because tourists do not like having to download a brand new app everywhere they go. They've got to delete an existing app, or they've got to delete much loved photographs or content on their phone in order to be able to get it on there. They also have to join a QR code queue to obtain an app in order to find the stuff that they want. So you get hundreds of people queuing up just to scan a little QR code, and that causes problems. Not only that, apps don't always work. So one of my criteria was that the tools behind creating tours had to be so simple that my dead granny could do it, and that's saying something because she's dead. Because most of the content will be loaded by volunteer people, like in museums and things of that nature. They're not always paid in the smaller museums and things. And the delivery app should be intuitive, but also it shouldn't overwhelm a phone. We live in Cornwall. Most people don't have 5G phones because we don't have 2 or 3G in Cornwall, or GPS doesn't work, or we don't get a phone signal. So the Now and Then app is capable of offloading, when you've got an internet connection, the content to a phone. Shouldn't overwhelm the phone because it's all been compressed and made to fit nicely without overwhelming too many things. And then if you've got an internet connection and you need to view things like video, it will stream directly to the phone and you can get out of it. All content's deleted when you exit the phone, when you exit the app. It does record your history. It also counts your steps. If you want to use it for social prescription with your doctor, you can say, oh, go to Tate and walk for a mile or whatever. And it works for the blind, the disabled, the deaf. There you go. That's it. That's all I can say about it, really.
Very exciting. It's great to hear. It sounds like you're going to make wonders. So as you say,
and I won this award last night for the most. I'll read it out. It's the National Startup Awards, Tourism and Leisure of the Year, winner 2022.
Awesome. Where was that to?
I was in Bristol last night. So one of the reasons I'm not as lucid as I may be normally It is, because I've had about 3 hours sleep. It takes 3 hours to get to Bristol.
Yeah.
The award ceremony didn't finish until after 11 o'clock last night. So I've had roughly 2 or 3 hours sleep. I was in meetings at 9:30 this morning.
So to talk a bit just about the sort of time scale of the business. So you mentioned it's sort of taken 2 to 3 years to get it going. Obviously, 2 to 3 years ago, we were all at a completely different state. We were going through the pandemic. So has that had any sort of direct impacts on the way that you started the business at all?
No, it just played right into my hands, because if you think about the way the tourism industry works, if it's delivering guided tours, you either hire a machine that you push buttons on and listen to, or you touch things in a museum. None of those things are allowed anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody wants it. The fact that my app is free and the tools are free to venues in order to load the information means that everybody wants it, even if they've got their own app. And they still get paid, because there are charging facilities within the app to buy in-app. Not only that, I've made it possible for individuals like you and me to make our own guided tours. Why would we do that? Well, I've got a history. I'm quite old, but I've got quite a long family line. It goes back to 1500. I could walk around the country pinning documents and pictures and audio files to places that my family have been for the last 500 years. I could create a family history tour that would sit on the internet forever and grow forward into the future. Mm-hmm. What I've actually tried to do is create the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, effectively.
I like the the transformation of doing that. So that's great. And then have you always been a business owner? Have you worked for yourself, or were you sort of an employee of somebody before you started this venture?
I'm a workaholic.
Yeah.
I had a job at my father managed to get me a national insurance number at the age of 14. At the age of 14, I had 3 paper rounds. Wow. At the age of 16, I was a recreation centre supervisor, swimming pool supervisor, and youth club supervisor. At the age of 20, I was one of the leading sales consultants for Scottish Provident in the country. I had my own company car. I drove around consulting with insurance brokers. I retired when I was 23, sold all my cars and went walking around Europe. I speak Italian and German, a little bit of Greek and French. I worked as a chef, a ski instructor, and did a bit of translation and teaching of English whilst I was abroad. When I came back, I went back into finance, but at the same time, I took a teacher training program and taught Italian and German and economics at night school and at university. I ran my own farm. I know everything about alternative technology. I've lived off grid now for 15 years. We're talking now through energy that was provided completely by the power of the sun. As you can see, I live in a rather strange building, but most of it was recycled. So I don't know what question. I forgot what question I was answering.
No, it was just asking if you'd always been your own boss, basically.
Oh yeah, I have. And effectively, I just went back to university and used the skills that I'd already had in order to create now and then.
Yeah, fantastic.
I've been a financial advisor for the last, I retired 10 years ago now, but all the time I was doing all of those other things. I was an independent financial advisor.
Okay, alongside
my own business. Yeah.
Do you have any sort of words of wisdom or anything that you would say to somebody who was thinking about starting their own business?
Persist, and everything's possible.
Okay, nice. I like that one. And then talking a bit about your history and the jobs that you've previously had and the vast extensity of them. Is there anything that you would say to an 18-year-old Mike?
Never say no.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is no such thing as a bad experience. There's only an experience. A bad experience teaches you how to overcome it. And I think if you're an entrepreneur, that's what you do. You overcome challenges. You don't let anything faze you. And you keep going as long as you're following the money. Because if it's not going to make money, then you needn't bother.
Mm-hmm.
That means you need to have an aim and an objective in mind that the market actually wants. If it doesn't want it, don't bother with it.
Fantastic.
Because you're not going to make any money at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think marketing, yeah, really important, but market research is paramount. And the thing I found that made me build now and then was the tourism industry hadn't changed for 50 years. It was trying to change in a way that wasn't possible by going straight to augmented reality. And it can't do that because the infrastructure will never exist. Well, won't exist for a number of years in Cornwall. Mm-hmm. And the general public are being asked to download a new app everywhere they go, and they don't want it. Mm-hmm. So if you can solve all of those, and then all of a sudden stop people touching stuff and make it possible for people to go on guided tours remotely, then you've done everything that that market needs. So I've done that.
Yeah. You feel like you've done it, tick it off. What's next?
Not yet. It's not gone to market. It's about to go to market, but I'm going to slow release it to make sure that I have it right, because one of the worst things mm-hmm. that an entrepreneur can do is make his buyer regret what they've bought. So I don't want my customers to suffer from buyer remorse. I want it to work consistently wherever they are, and Cornwall's the best test bed for that, because GPS is crap. Sorry, excuse my French, but so is the phone signal. And it's really difficult to make anything work in Cornwall. 5G relies on 20 meters line of sight. That's never going to happen in rural areas of Cornwall. Mm-hmm. So it's important that anything built is robust and it works wherever you are. That's what I'm trying to do.
Cool. Fantastic.